Villanova played its first home game of the Kevin Willard era over the weekend and earned their initial win under the veteran head coach. It was a bounce back game for Acaden Lewis, plus another dominant performance on the glass. We will look at the good, the iffy, and the unknown from Saturday's victory. Also, Bryce Lindsay and Duke Brennan are off to strong starts. Just how sustainable is it? Plus, a preview of the Sacred Heart game, all coming next on Holy Nova. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Holy Nova. We are part of the Big East Energy Network. I'm Matt Janus alongside my friend David White. David, we want to thank the audience for continuing to help us grow. Please like the video. It helps us get in front of more Villanova fans. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the Big East Energy Network. We've got virtually every team covered. We've got 3 league-wide shows, and we've got every angle of the women's basketball scene covered as well. Big East Energy Network is your place for all your Big East news and opinions throughout the basketball season. We've got some opinions on Villanova's start to the campaign. Big bounce back win for the Wildcats. Not only the fact that they got the win, that was expected. In fact, if they didn't get the win, boy, would this show have a much grimmer tone. But it was the way they got the win that I think was a good sign. Acaden Lewis bouncing back, continuing to have some success on the glass. Just a lot to like from that game on Saturday.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, I think the best thing you can say is they did what they were supposed to do. They took care of business. They did what they were supposed to do against what's going to be probably a good Queens team. They're the favorite to win the A-Sun. They're probably going to be in the tournament if everything holds up. But I there are some things that they definitely need to work on. But overall, good game. It's nice to see Caden Lewis back scoring the ball well, getting his confidence up. Duke Brennan and Matt Hodge playing well on the inside, and a lot of positives to take from that game.
Indeed. And Kevin Willard was talking about that exact subject after the game. And, he had it narrowed down to a couple things he really liked from game one to game two from the Cats.
Last game about not being so dependent on shooting a three. I thought we took way too many threes in the first game. And Duke just plays so hard. If you've never played against him, he's going to outwork you. And that's what I love about him.
Yeah, that is what you have to love about Duke Brennan. Nobody plays the game harder. He is going to turn into a folk hero. You get the feeling around Villanova. Another game where he just hit the glass and hit the glass and hit the glass. He ends up with 20 offensive rebounds, David, 11 of them on the offensive end. I understand that Queens is not the most overwhelming team when it comes to size, but that was awful impressive to do it against BYU, who is a much longer, much more physical team, and then to follow it up with an even more dominant performance against Queens. What's this guy going to do for an encore?
Hey, 20 rebounds is 20 rebounds. I don't care who you're playing against. That is hard work. That is all effort. That is hitting the glass every time a shot goes up. I mean, 20 and 17. What can you say about it? I don't care what opponent you're playing. 20 and 17 is going to be impressive every night. And if Duke Brennan keeps hitting the boards like this, there's a guy in the middle that you can rely on. And it's going to help this team out tremendously.
And the thing about Brennan, when he comes over from Grand Canyon, you're worried, would the stage get too big for him? And again, the opponent was Queens. That's a mid-major team. But the opener was against the 8th-ranked team in the country that is long at every single position that you thought Villanova would be at a huge disadvantage on the glass against. And yet they were not only able to hold their own rebounding wise, they were plus the entire game. There was nothing flukish about Villanova out-rebounding BYU in that opener. And obviously, Brennan was in the thick of everything. And he just is always in the right position. And that's such a big part of rebounding. You got to be strong. You can't be moved, but instinctual ability to kind of figure out where the ball is going to go and the timing. Those are some of the things that I wasn't aware that he was going to be that good at that many little things.
And it's not just that. There were a lot of times where he doesn't necessarily come down with the rebound, but he gets a finger on it, he gets a tip on it, he gives his teammates a chance to come down with the rebound. I mean, that's just as important as if you can tip it back out to one of your teammates, come down with it. Maybe there's an open three. So everything he does is just he plays at 100%. He goes full speed all the time. And if you take a break against him, you're going to give up a rebound.
22 offensive rebounds in the game for Villanova. That is wildly impressive. Maybe as impressive, the fact that Queens manages just 3 offensive rebounds the entire game. It was just workmanlike on the glass. And yes, Brennan was the lead figure in that. And his sustained box outs. There was a couple times where the ball hit the floor. That's old school basketball right there. You very rarely see that anymore. And yet Brennan just holds his box out so long. And a lot of times, if you hold your box out once the ball comes down to the floor, they're going to call an automatic foul. But he's in such good position. For whatever,
Mhm.
they still seem to give him the benefit of the doubt, don't they?
Oh, for sure. That is definitely old school box out. I remember Digger Phelps used to a defensive rebound should always hit the floor, but I mean, clear a guy out, yeah. And like you said, he's in good position. He's not holding. That's usually where you get in trouble, where your arms are behind you, kind of holding the guy off. But he's not doing that. He's just moving them back and then going to get the rebound. It's very impressive what he's been able to do through 2 games so far.
And the thing is, Kevin Willard doesn't sound at all surprised about what Brennan's been able to do. He said he saw him play at Grand Canyon and figured that it would translate to this level.
I played against him, so when he was at Grand Canyon, so I got to watch a lot of film on Duke, and he had my utmost respect from day one when we played against them last year. How hard he plays, his motor, and now we're just trying to put him in some different situations, keeping him down a little bit lower. In Grand Canyon, he would come up a lot away from the basket. We're trying to keep him a little bit lower at times because I think he could be dominant down there with rebounding.
All sound courtesy of Villanova University, and appreciate them allowing us to use the press conference footage from Kevin Willard after the game. And the fans were serenading Duke Brennan. You could see he's starting very quickly to become a fan favorite, and if he keeps going like this, it's going to be beyond fan favorite. He's going to move into cult hero status here pretty soon.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, not only were the rebounds and the scoring great, I mean, he had 3 assists, 1 turnover. He made a few great plays to Matt Hodge cutting. Like, I think he made a lot of smart basketball plays outside of the rebounds, just smart plays with the ball, not really forcing anything, getting it to the right person. So, high IQ guy, obviously. He understands the game. And that's, like I said, going to go far because, as Brian told us, a Kevin Willard offense is great if there's a guy in the middle who can be a serviceable big man.
And look, he's not going to show you a ton of range. He did try to shoot a
Mhm.
mid-range jumper. It didn't go in, but at least he tried to show it. That's going to be something that you have to continue to evolve. He's most comfortable in that phone booth, the 5 feet circle around the basket. It's where he does most of his dirty work. We saw him get a couple of second chance points or putbacks that led to second chance points. We saw him keep balls alive, kick it out to the perimeter. He's not going to look for his. He's not going to do a ton off the bounce. He will mix it up, but it does seem like when he goes back to the basket, he's looking more for the kick out than he is for his own shot. But if the defense overplays it, that's when he goes up for that little baby hook we've seen a couple times, or the up and under where he explodes to the rim. That seems to be his best offensive move.
Oh, the up and under is great. He also uses the rim well as a extra protection going baseline and going up under the rim so that a guy coming to block can't get to it. It's either going to be goaltending or it's a layup. So he does that really well as well.
Well, you mentioned the smart plays from Duke Brennan, the high basketball IQ, and how important that is. We have seen that early in the offseason from Acaden Lewis. It translated into the exhibition games. It did not carry over, though, to the opener against BYU. He struggled. He did not play the final 15 minutes of that game against the Cougars. So it was important to see how he would bounce back from that in the home opener. And I think you had to be really impressed by what you saw from Acaden Lewis. 21 points, 9 of 13 shooting, very efficient offensively, just seemed in complete control of the game. And I think the number that stands out most, 0 turnovers, which you love.
Yeah, 4 assists, 0 turnovers. I mean, for a point guard, there's nothing better than that. Obviously, for this team to be successful, Acaden Lewis is going to have to be successful scoring the basketball. But 4 assists, 0 turnovers, love it. He seemed to get the offense going. I love that they were able to get out in transition. He was able to. He played really good defense, I felt like, throughout the game. Wasn't allowing much, and
He was critical in the press. I mean, he was
oh,
his arms are sneaky long. He can get involved and get a lot of deflections off of that.
that was where I was going. Being at the top of that press with Bryce Lindsay at times, it was. I thought he played really good defense at the top of the press.
So you see him kind of getting in there, mixing everything up. 9 of 13. He also loves to play downhill. There's no doubt about that. That will be the next evolution in his game. Continues to be quiet from the perimeter, but that's something that you were kind of hoping would develop second half of the year. We'll keep an eye on it. He tried just 3 3-point shots. He made one of them, but he was excellent on his twos. He knocked down 8 of his 10 2-point shots, and he got to the rim seemingly at will. Change of pace, back out a couple of times, some bully ball there from Acaden Lewis. Now, you're not going to be able to play bully ball against bigger teams, and we kind of saw that in the opener against BYU, and that was maybe where he struggled a little bit, where in high school and even against mid-major college teams, he's fine. He can get himself into the lane anytime he wants. Against bigger, better opponents, that's going to be more of a struggle. So that's going to be something that we'll have to watch, of that next step that Lewis will have to take. He knows it. Kevin Willard knows it. It's game 2. He's a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
I know he looks so polished in offseason. He's a really highly regarded recruit. It's sometimes easy to forget there are going to be days like that BYU game, and you're just going to have to learn from.
And I think one of his biggest things is going to be knowing when to drive and pull it out and pull back for a jumper, for quick stop and pop, for a runner in the lane. That's going to be the biggest thing for him against bigger competition. Getting them on that first step, because he has a quick first step and can get downhill. But when they catch up, being able to stop, pull it back, and take a little 5 to 10 footer.
It was funny watching how much attention Queens was trying to play Acaden Lewis. At one stage, they went zone, and they were running 2 and even 3 bodies at Lewis. And to his credit, look at that. Head up, and that was the story. It wasn't just one snapshot. That was emblematic of the way he played that entire first half. Make the right pass, wasn't trying to do too much. When the defense gave it to him, when there was a path to the basket, he went. When not, this ended up being a wide open 3 for Lindsay there. He was looking off that help defender. He ends up hitting Lindsay, who knocks down the jumper. That's all you can ask out of a freshman, especially out of a freshman point guard. He made the right plays, and Kevin Willard agreed and thought that was a huge sign for this Villanova team on Saturday night.
Great job of just kind of keeping the tempo and not settling and attacking. And, I think you're going to see him continue to get more and more comfortable, get better, recognize switches. It's only his second game, so I think he's just, the more he learns, the more he watches film, the better he's going to get.
Now, of course, this is the way the world works. This is the internet, and there was that story going around. We got it sent to us by 100 different people about Acaden Lewis's dad mentioning a tongue-in-cheek thanks to Kevin Willard for benching his son over the final 15 minutes. The internet was split about whether he was giving Willard grief and complaining about that, or whether it was a legitimate, hey, this is a learning experience for my son. I've never met Acaden Lewis's father. He's been very kind to us on this show with the interaction that he's given us and sharing some of our shows and helping us get in front of Villanova fans. But I this much, two things. He loves and supports his son, and he raised a heck of a mature young kid. When you listen to Acaden Lewis, you don't feel like you're listening to your typical freshman. You listen to a really thoughtful guy who is giving you his full attention and thinking his way through the question and giving you his honest opinion. That's not something you get from a lot of freshman college basketball players. That's maturity. That is an eloquent and intelligent young man. And so I'm going to trust the guy that raised that kid more than I am the internet. We'll have to keep an eye on it. And even if he was mad at Kevin Willard, as long as it's just one tweet, who cares, man? He loves his son. He's supporting his son. Let's not overreact to everything.
No, we can't. I mean, I tell you one thing, I doubt that Kevin Willard or the staff is too concerned about that tweet. Like you said, Acaden Lewis, great kid, high IQ. Like, I don't think he's gonna allow that to derail his season or cause him to have any animosity towards Kevin Willard. So I think that it's no matter what the intent of the tweet was, let it go. It's not. It doesn't come into the locker room.
And clearly, Acaden Lewis let it go because he was fine in this game. And I just we make so much out of everything. If this is still happening in a few months, then we could talk about it. But right now, one game in, we'll move on, and that's what Villanova is doing with a 20-point win over Queens, and maybe bearing the lead here a little bit because what a performance from Bryce Lindsay for the second game in a row. Getting hard to figure out who has been the best Wildcat to this point. We had to lead with Duke Brennan. The guy grabbed 20 rebounds to go along with 17 points. But Bryce Lindsay says, hold on, guys. And he scored 25 points. Didn't have the best three-point shooting night. In fact, that pass he got from Lewis, that was the only three that he made. And yet he still impacted the game, which to me is a pretty good sign because you worry with Lindsay's size. Is he going to be 2 3-point dependent? He said no in this game against Queens. He was able to impact the game in a bunch of different ways.
He went to the rim. He did what I was just talking about with Acaden. He allowed the defense to play up, do that first step, pull it back, and take a jumper right at the free throw line. So he was able to do all of the things that you expect from a veteran basketball player who's learned under good coaches. But he had a great game. I mean, I thought he looked great going to the rim. He didn't look scared. He didn't look like he was concerned about contact, especially for a smaller guy. You want to see that.
All right, so here's the question, David. You got the three guys on your screen right now, Acaden Lewis, Bryce Lindsay, Duke Brennan. Both have shown what they're capable of through the two exhibition games and the two regular season games so far. It's very early, and we're going to get a lot more data. We don't have to rush to a decision, but that's not what this is about. Let's have a little bit of fun. Who, in your mind, is Villanova's best player right now?
Oh, man. Best player is Bryce Lindsay. I think that's a pretty easy one. Most important player, I think, is Duke Brennan. I think because of what he brings to the inside, and it's hard to win basketball games without anybody in the paint who is able to grab rebounds, who's able to be a force, who's able to cause the defense to shrink down and allow some kickouts. So best player, I think, is Bryce Lindsay. I think he's been great through two games, but most important going forward, because I think that as the season goes on, Acaden Lewis is going to get more comfortable. I think Devin Askew is eventually going to get more comfortable and start scoring again. So I think going forward, Duke Brennan is also probably the linchpin to what success could be for this team.
And then highest upside would be Acaden Lewis. He's the guy that can be the X factor that takes them to the next level.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, he has the highest ceiling in terms of talent and ability. So, yeah, between those three, it's nice to see Lindsay come out strong out of the gate, and I hope that he continues this. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. But Brennan is going to be huge for this team.
Let me ask you this, David. I mean to cut you off there, sorry. But let me ask you this. Are you okay with Acaden Lewis not being this player's best team? Is that put a ceiling on what they're capable of over the course of the year?
I don't think so, because I think Bryce Lindsay has been so much better than what anybody expected. I think he's better than what we expected. So if Acaden Lewis kind of slots in at that spot that we thought Bryce Lindsay would be in, maybe a little better, I don't think that changes the outlook of what this team could do.
I would tend to agree with that. I think that I think, to be honest, it would probably be better for Villanova if Acaden Lewis ends up being their best player, and then Bryce Lindsay and Duke Brennan are the Robin to his Batman, to use a bad and old school pun, but I couldn't come up with a better one in the moment. But if they can be the guys that are the top supporting cast, and then Lewis turns into the star that we are thinking that he is capable of becoming, I think that's how Villanova reaches its absolute apex. But I do agree with you. Bryce Lindsay's ceiling, and I thought he was going to be, I was more sure about him being a good contributor at this level than you were, but I didn't think he would be this type of contributor. I'm still not sure. I don't think he's going to score 25 a night, obviously, but if he can be a solid 15-point a game guy, that's huge for Villanova, because I think a lot of people had him pegged at 9-10 points a game coming into the year.
Yeah, probably. I don't see many people who had more than that. I mean, he played 37 minutes. If you had told me 37 minutes for Bryce Lindsay coming into the season, I might have thought you hit your head on the bookcase back there. But he's been great. I think that you're right. If Acaden Lewis turns into the player that we think he is, and he's the best player, that's obviously going to get Villanova to its highest peak, because I think that Acaden Lewis can be the guy who, hey, we need a basket, we need a bucket right now. He's the guy with the skill set that I think can go out and get it by himself. I think Bryce Lindsay still needs a little bit more from the team in order to get his shot. So, yeah, I agree, but I think that given where Bryce Lindsay is right now, that there's not much drop off, if any, between peak and what they'd be if Acaden Lewis slots in there as the second best player on this team.
I think that's well put. I do. I think that is a very accurate way to describe it. I think there's a lot to like about that opening win against Queens. One more thing that we've got to get to, Matthew Hodge. I mean, that was impressive as well. The efficiency that he scored at, knocking down a couple of threes, the only guy on the team that made more than one 3-point shot the entire game, and 10 shots from the field to get 18 points. That's the kind of upside that we were thinking was there for Hodge coming into the season. To see that he's capable of doing that already, his second career college game, he's not going to do that every single night. He's not going to be anywhere near that type of efficiency, I don't think, every single night. But Acaden Lewis said it coming into the year. He's just the ultimate singles hitter. He's going to screen, he's going to rebound, and he's going to make mid-range jumpers. We saw a little bit of all of that in the game on Saturday against Queens.
And like I said, I think I said it a little earlier, the way that he and Duke Brennan were able to play off of each other, I thought was great. So if they have that chemistry right now and that continues to grow, and like I said, if Duke Brennan keeps playing the way he's playing, drawing some double teams, Hodge diving, like it's going to be great for the team. But yeah, 2 for 4 from the 3-point line. 8. That's I'm looking again. I know you just said it, 8 for 10. It surprised me a little bit. That's an extremely efficient game for 18, especially considering no points from the free throw line. So he had a great game as well.
He was important too for Villanova. It got a little hairy there for a little bit as we kind of
Hmm.
transition into the areas of concern from that game because it wasn't all sunshine and roses. Villanova dominated that contest, and it felt like it was completely non-competitive. And suddenly, you look up at the scoreboard, and it's a 10-point game with just over 12 minutes to go. And you're kind of scratching your head. How's that mathematically possible? Villanova's scoring seemingly at will. They were doing a good job most of the first half defensively, got away from them a little bit late stages of the first half and then early part of the second half. Queens all of a sudden started to spread Villanova out. And if there's one concern for this team defensively, we saw it down the stretch of the BYU game. We saw it in the second half at points against Queens. If you can get them ISO'd into one-on-one spots, that probably is how you want to attack this Villanova team because they struggle to stay in front. They're either going to foul you. We saw that in both exhibition games, or if they do move their feet and avoid the contact, too many opportunities near the rim that they're giving up. People are getting at least a foot, if not 2 feet into the paint way too consistently for fans' comfort and certainly for Kevin Willard's comfort. He was not loving it.
Yeah, and I think defensively, I think throughout the game, they were allowing a lot of straight line drives, a lot of middle drives, a lot of paint penetration. So they're going to have to work on that primary ball defense because once you get beat as the primary defender, now you're bringing guys in to help, which causes somebody's going to be open. You got two guys on the ball. That's just math. If two guys are on the ball, they have four other guys. You only have three guys to play defense. Now you're in a scramble situation. But I thought in the first half it was happening. Queens was just missing the shots. In the second half, they started making some of those shots, and it's going to be something that needs to be cleaned up because against more talented teams, they're either going to be able to make the shot or they're going to find the open person and they're going to exploit that weakness. So I think on ball defense just as a whole has to get better.
The Queen shot 57% from the field. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that kind of says it all right there. You can't count on getting 24 more shots than your opponent. That's what Villanova was able to do on Queens. You're not going to do that against most teams. Villanova is a better rebounding team than we were expecting coming into the year. Kevin Willard was clearly playing possum when he said that that was going to be an area of concern all year long because it's been the opposite through 2 games. Can they sustain this rate of rebounding? No, they cannot. But
Yeah.
they do look like they're going to be a good rebounding team as opposed to a bad one. At minimum, they're going to be above average, but you're not going to get 24 more shots than your opponent most of the time. So you're going to have to start to play better defense in this. If you you allow too many teams to shoot 57%, you're going to end up with too many L's in the loss column.
And I know that Kevin Willard and his staff put this in during scout, but Ashby did a pretty good job on him. And I mean, he only had 11 points, but this is the ASUN preseason player of the year. All he likes to do is shoot threes. He was able to get open looks that can't happen against better competition. It just can't. You can't lose a guy, their best player, and allow him to have open looks. I think most of the night he was pretty much locked down, but those are the little slip ups where it's like, fix that because it's going to turn into a bigger problem the further into the season you get.
And he got into a little bit of foul trouble, which I thought took away some of his aggressiveness. Didn't take
Mm-hmm.
away minutes, but it just took away some of his aggressiveness. And then, as you said, they knew where he was. The 4 3-point shots, the reason he got 4 good looks was because they had to help and try to cut down some of the drives because of all those straight line drives that you were alluding to. That's something that you got to figure out. On the other side, they've got to figure out somebody that can make some threes, man. 4 of 19 from 3-point range. And again, a lot of them good looks. I like that they didn't take as many. I like that they were more selective in when to take the threes. They continue to get a ton of offensive boards off of missed threes. I mean, of the 22 offensive rebounds that they were able to secure in that game, I was trying to keep track. Might have missed 1 or 2, but it seemed like 8 came off of missed 3-point shots. So that's a good sign that you're getting threes off of movement, that you're forcing the defense to rotate, and now they're out of position on box outs, and that's why you're getting as many offensive boards as you are, and that's great. And to a degree, that's somewhat sustainable, but not to the degree that it's happened in the first 2 games, and you're gonna have some games get away from you, especially when you get against the best competition. It's gonna be a lot harder to pull off upsets if you're a non-factor from three-point range, which is exactly what Villanova has been in 2 games so far this season.
especially for a team that is undersized. When you get up against competition who's bigger than you, you're going to have to knock down some of those shots. I mean, like you said, it's great that you were able to pick up 8-ish offensive rebounds off of those missed threes. It shows that the guards are crashing on shots because, for the most part, long shot, long rebound. So it's going out past Duke Brennan's head to the second line of guards coming in. So that's always good to see. But you gotta hit a shot. You just have to. I mean, what John Madden would probably have said, usually the team who scores the most wins the game. And threes are important to scoring the most, especially in this league. So
And look,
hopefully it gets better, but I mean, it has to.
20-point win, you might say, hey, you're nitpicking. They won by 20. Well, we aren't the only ones that are a little bit concerned. Here's Kevin Willard when asked what he likes about his team after the game.
A great job of just kind of keeping the tempo.
Beg your pardon. I hit the wrong button right there in terms of what he likes about his team. Here's the right
So
one.
far, just how hard we play. But we're not good on defense and we're not good on offense right now.
Had to get that one in there. I think that there's a certain something about Kevin Willard that is entertaining to listen to because, let's be honest, the guy plays down everything, trying to set expectations at a certain level. He definitely played rope a dope on the rebounding coming into the season. You're going to have to listen to the deeper meaning behind what he says rather than the literal interpretation of the words coming out of his mouth. He gives you stuff. You're just going to have to kind of interpret it. We're going to have to learn to speak Willard, so to speak, before this year is over. But he has been quite consistent with that refrain. He is not liking all of the execution offensively, and then defensively. I was at the Fin. I was watching him get into his team. He did not like the way that they were rotating defensively. The switches were a mess on a couple occasions. He got on Malachi Palmer and Gapare on multiple occasions. And those are 2 guys that have played in his system before. And I think that's what was frustrating him most. For everybody else, it's new. For those 2 guys, they should be a bit more comfortable at this stage. And I think that's where you see it beginning to boil a little bit for Kevin Willard.
Yeah, and I understand where he's coming from. And yeah, we're being a little nitpicky, but after a game like this, that's what you have to do. You have to say every game that Nova plays is not going to be against Queens. It's going to be against power conference teams, the better competition, better players. I think that defensively, when they play in the half court, it's not great. I think they did a good job speeding Queens up with that press, and that caused a lot of the trouble that Queens had offensively. But when they broke the press and it was just half court defense, it was a lot, like I said, a lot of straight line drives, a lot of paint touches. That's where I think Kevin Willard is probably most concerned is we can't press 40 minutes a game, especially not at this stage when not healthy. Maybe when you get a few more bodies, you can press for longer, but pressing takes a lot out of a team.
You're getting really good at this broadcasting thing, David. That's another natural transition. Chris Jeffrey unable to go. He had a sprained ankle he suffered in practice, and Kevin Willard did not want to put a timeline on his return. So we'll have to wait and see his availability for the game on Tuesday. But also just, you don't want those ankle sprains to linger. And that hurts because, we were both really high on what Jeffrey showed in the opener against BYU, but also the fact that
Mhm.
Devin Askew's clearly not still 100% still, and you're trying to get Zion Stanford back. Good news is it sounds like he's closer at this point. I heard
Mhm.
Whitey Rigsby, the voice of the Wildcats, talk about that before the game at the Finneran Pavilion. So hopefully that means in the next week or two we'll see Stanford make his Villanova debut. But we have still not seen this team anywhere near their full arsenal a couple games into the
Mhm.
campaign.
No, I mean, we played less guys tonight or on Saturday than he did against BYU. So yeah, it just seems like one step forward, two steps back. Unfortunately, with Jeffrey, hopefully it's just a mild ankle sprain. He's able to get back on Tuesday, but without the full arsenal, and I think Zion Stanford would be a huge part of any sort of press. It's going to be hard to consistently press against teams with better guards who have a better press breaker. So you got to learn how to play defense in the half court.
Indeed, indeed. And that'll be something that we are keeping an eye on very closely here in non-conference play. It's certainly something that has to change probably for Big Five play, but definitely before you get into those two Big Ten non-conference games that you have staring in front of you, that you're going to have to find a way to get one. It has not been the best of starts in non-conference play for the Big East. And, Villanova near miss against BYU, Providence losing in overtime to Virginia Tech, the heartbreaker for St. John's against Michigan, or excuse me, for St. John's against Alabama. It's just been a lot of close calls that have gone against the league. Really, the only win of note so far was Georgetown beating Maryland. I wonder who Villanova fans were rooting for in that game. Georgetown, the heated rival. I would hope the Big East team. Plus, how much grief did they get from Maryland fans during the offseason after the Kevin Willard fiasco?
I hope they were cheering for Georgetown because as much as it pains Nova fans to cheer for Georgetown, the non-conference right now is where the Big East is going to, like we said, it's where the Big East is going to get at large bids. And if you want to be in it at the end of the season, you need those Big East wins. So every win is helpful, especially against power conference opponents.
Well, folks, we'd love to hear from you in the comment section. Please like the video or leave your comment thoughts on what you've seen from Villanova to this point in the season. It helps us with the algorithm get in front of more Villanova fans. Also, we want to hear your feedback. Also, there's another place to give your feedback and to interact with Big East fans. We've started a Discord on the Big East Energy Network. We're going to put the information in the description below of how you can get involved in the conversation. We had a couple of Villanova fans tell us they could never root for Georgetown in that Discord. It's what made me think of it. But certainly, we want you to be in on the conversation. So check out the description below for information on how to get in to that Discord conversation. Big East Energy Network, a great forum for Big East fans. We're covering everything Big East basketball. Couple thoughts from the game, David. Did not sit press row, actually ended up sitting in the stands with the fans and had pretty good seats. If you can see the pictures I was able to get right behind the Queen's bench, and trying to get as much art as we can. It's a long season, trying to stack it for our thumbnails and for these pictures, so you're not staring at our ugly mugs all episode long. But two what I thought were funny moments from the game. The wonderful family sitting in the seats directly behind me at one point asked me, "Hey, 55, is he yours?" And I just looked at him, huh? And they said, "Well, you're just taking so many pictures of Acaden Lewis. Is that your son? It's okay. We won't tell anybody." And I said, "Boy, I wish he was my son. I'll be on the verge of being real rich real soon." And I had to explain to him, "No, I'm working media, just trying to. He's the best player, so trying to get as many pictures of Acaden Lewis. Got a feeling we're going to use a lot of thumbnails with Acaden over the course of the season." But I just thought that was funny. They actually ended up subscribing to the show afterwards. So hopefully we got some new fans. Hopefully they're listening to this. It was just pretty funny. The way they asked it, they thought it was a big secret. They didn't want to out me. So I appreciate that. But no, unfortunately, no, I have no relation to Acaden Lewis. And that's probably very good news for Acaden Lewis. He doesn't need those genes involved in his pool in any way, shape, or form. The other, David, was with Nova up 66-51. They get fouled, just over 12 minutes to go, right? They go to the free throw line and they miss a free throw. It was an and one. They miss it. Crowd groaned like they had just missed the front end of a 1-and-1 trying to close out a win. I figured maybe there was some kind of a promotion going on that I wasn't aware of, that maybe they were giving out free food. You know how they do that sometimes when you get to 100 points. They get fouled again. 2 free throws. They missed the first. Same reaction. Huge groan. Now I'm real confused. What could possibly be running at the moment that they would be this upset about and this free throw? Finally, they make the second, and the crowd just goes nuts. Student section was loving it. The little kids to the right of me went bananas, and finally I figured it out because they started chanting. Do you know what it is?
I have no idea.
6-7, 6-7, 6-7. They got to 67 points. How great is that?
Wow. Yeah. 6-7. I don't even know what that means.
Nor do I. My kids aren't old enough that I have to worry about it quite yet. I think they know, but they haven't been saying it ad nauseum. I'm happy about it, so I don't need to ask any questions. But I know those little kids love it. Apparently, it doesn't have any great meaning. It's just something that is said, and that maybe if us old folks continue to say it enough, it will go by the wayside.
Yeah, I hope so, because I don't know what it means. So I just want to use it wrong as much as possible. Hey, 6-7. And it just dies a slow death.
It used to mean a height when we were talking basketball, 6'7", but does not mean that anymore. All right, let's look ahead. It's Tuesday is the next game for Villanova. Sacred Heart is the opponent. Pretty good basketball team that they're going up against. Mid-major team for sure, but, they were picked third in the MAC. That's the MAAC, not the MACtion that we see the Tuesday, Wednesday weeknight college football conference. No, this is the MAAC. They're only in their second year in the conference. They've got 3 really good players. Anquan Hill at the top of that list. He had 13 in their opener. It was a loss to Duquesne, but they were in that game. They were very competitive against the team out of the Atlantic 10. And also Niall Ralph Byer, he led the way with 17 points. He's a third-team all-conference selection. Villanova's going to have their hands full with both those guys. I mean, we saw what Queens was able to do to that Villanova defense. So the Wildcats are going to have to play much better, or Sacred Heart's going to put some points up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that with both games coming up this week, so Duquesne and Sacred Heart Tuesday, Duquesne Saturday, you're just looking to improve on what they've already done well. So we want to see improvement with Devin Askew getting more comfortable. I want to see Bryce Lindsay still playing up to what he's been able to do. You want to see Duke Brennan. Hey, Duke, bring down another 20 rebounds. Why not? Just do it. But then you have to defend better as competition gets better. So hopefully I'm sure they're watching a lot of film. I'm sure Kevin Willard is practicing. We all know that he loves the defensive end. I'm sure he is on them every day in practice about on-ball defense. So just seeing improvement in those areas are going to be really important for this team.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly agreed. And it's also an example of 2 very different types of roster construction, David. Sacred Heart's got 9 players back from last year's team. Villanova has 9% of their scoring from last year's group. So it's different. It's 2 very different teams in terms of experience level inside the program.
Well, and I mean, that just leads again to more locking down on defense because they've played together. They've played basketball together. They know each other. They know each other's tendencies. So you're going to have to know the scout inside and out. You're going to have to find every guy. So I hope they're up for the challenge.
Yeah, I think Kevin Willard is hoping that as well. You mentioned wanting to see better defensive effort. I think that's true. I'd like to see the ball go in the basket a couple times from 3-point range. That would certainly be a welcome sight for this Villanova team. What else are some of the things that you would be most encouraged by if it came to fruition in a game on Tuesday?
I God, I mean, those are the two biggest holes right now are the on-ball defense and three-point shooting.
That's not
But
a
I would,
bad spot to be in if you got
yeah.
2 things that you're really looking at this stage. I mean, obviously,
Hmm.
there's some others that you could button up, but if you have 2 concerns that you gotta get addressed, but then everything else is passable, that's not the end of the world considering how many new pieces this Villanova team has.
I'd like to see the guards be a little more aggressive getting downhill. I think that at times they kind of just allowed the defense to stop them when they didn't necessarily against Queens. So maybe a little more aggressiveness, getting to the rim, trying to get to the free throw line more. I think both of those things I'd be looking out for.
And I think for Villanova, I would like to see Matthew Hodge play in a similar fashion to what we saw against Queens. I don't need him to be 8 of 10. That's maybe a little
Mhm.
bit high on the expectation. We don't have to hold him to those standards, but if he could string together some good games and build his confidence, that's a big deal. Um, I, Bryce Lindsay, if he can keep it rolling, great. But at this point, that would probably be a bonus. You want to see either Lindsay or Lewis play really well. Get that confidence rolling for at least one, if not both. Um, is Duke Brennan human? I'd like to see that. Can somebody hold him outside under 15 on the glass? It just doesn't seem possible the way he plays out there right now, rebounding the basketball. This is, those 20 rebounds, that's the most rebounds by a Villanova player in more than a decade. It was
Wow.
March of 2015 the last time somebody had that many rebounds in a game. It was Daniel Achefu. So if Duke Brennan's following in the footsteps of Daniel Achefu, he's doing a lot of things right.
Yeah, but one other thing I'd like to see, which I was kind of surprised we didn't see against Queens, is I know Brennan's been playing great. I'd like to see Pierce get a little more time on the floor. It's a 7-footer, just trying to get him more comfortable, hopefully seeing what he can bring to the table. I think that would be also something that I'm interested in.
I think that Pierce is going to be matchup dependent all year, right? It's going to be
Yeah.
determined by who the opponent is. I was surprised they played him against BYU. Maybe it was that same idea that you're just kind of mentioning. I thought that was a worse matchup than even Queens was for Pierce. It's got to be somebody that isn't going to be able to spread you. I just don't feel like he's going to be able to come out and guard on the perimeter right now.
Yeah, and it might be that they haven't put the. I think if he's in, you're gonna have to do some zone looks to keep him in the middle. So maybe Kevin Willard's just not comfortable with the zone look right now. So we'll see though.
He did go to zone at the very end of the BYU game, but that was out of absolute necessity
Yeah.
when they could not stop that pick and roll / lead block game that was going on. Do you have any thoughts? We're going to talk about it more on Big East Beat, obviously, and we hope that you'll watch that show as well with myself, David White, and Brian Webster. But any thoughts on the slow start from the Big East so far? Is that a big reason for concern, or is it still too early to get too worried about it?
I think it's still too early. I mean, we're 2 games into the season right now. It's still early November, so pump the brakes a little bit. There's concern, obviously, when what should have been one of your top two teams is losing early game to Alabama. That would have helped the league out tremendously to win against the SEC. But I think let's just take a breath. If we're still talking about this come December 1st, now maybe the panic button needs to be hit.
Yeah, practically speaking, couldn't agree with you more.
Mhm.
Narrative wise, this is how it starts to snowball in the Big East. They've got to,
Mhm.
they can't afford Creighton to get blown out on Tuesday night by Gonzaga. Against a good Gonzaga team. It's not a great Gonzaga team. At least I don't think
Yeah.
they are. They're not supposed to be. They're a fringe top 20 team. And they can't. Creighton, as inexperienced as they are in terms of playing together, and it is going to be better in a month than it is right now. Can't lose that game by 20, 25 points. That won't go well for the Big East, I feel like.
No, oh, certainly not. When there's these high profile games. I mean, as much as it sucks that Nova wasn't able to pull out the BYU game, it was a good game. It's a high profile good game. So these have to be good games. Obviously, you'd like to win more than you lose, but any blowout is just detrimental to the league.
I'd just like to note right now how dedicated I am to this show and to our fans. I do not know what is happening as we tape this on Monday night in the Eagles-Packers game. I'm about to, as we load this up to YouTube, go watch it on the DVR right now. But I chose you, our Holy Nova fans, over the Birds, and I'm hoping that the football gods will reward me for that loyalty to our Holy Nova faithful. Don't give it away if you know, David, but please.
I don't. I'm hoping that the football gods will bless you too, because Saquon Barkley's on my fantasy team, so I need him to have a good game.
All right, so we're on the same team on that one, on that front, and that's a great place to stop. We will talk to you again on Thursday. Remember, we're here twice a week, rest of the season, Tuesdays and Thursdays. The show will drop at 12 noon on YouTube, but it'll be available anytime after that. We hope that you will be with us. If you're here 50 minutes in and you haven't liked the video yet, what are you doing? Please get in that like button, smash it, as the kids like to say. Subscribe to all of our content on the Big East Energy Network and join the Discord. Get in on the conversation. We've got a great Big East forum going on Discord. We'll have the information on how to sign up in the description below. We will talk to you on Thursday for more Holy Nova. On Wednesday, same time on Big East Beat, we'll be talking about the entire conference. It's a quick wrap around all the Big East action from the week, a look ahead of what's to come. And we also have a little bit of fun as well. And David's wrong all the time. It's good times.
I'm never wrong.
For David White, I'm Matt Janus. Thanks so much for joining us on this edition of Holy Nova 6767.